Summary of the Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka ****. Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis is a surreal and poignant novella that explores themes of alienation, identity, and the dehumanizing effects of modern society. The story begins with an extraordinary and unsettling premise. Gregor Samsa, a traveling salesman, wakes up one morning to find himself transformed into a giant, insect-like creature. This grotesque metamorphosis sets the stage for a narrative that delves into the psychological and existential struggles of Gregor and his family. Gregor's initial reaction to his transformation is one of shock and confusion, but his primary concern is not his monstrous new form but his inability to go to work. This reflects the extent to which he has internalized the societal pressures of duty and responsibility. As the sole breadwinner of his family, Gregor has sacrificed his own desires to support his parents and younger sister, Greta. His job is monotonous and draining, yet he tolerates it out of a sense of obligation. However, with his transformation, Gregor becomes physically incapable of fulfilling these duties, and his identity as a provider is fundamentally shaken. Gregor's family initially reacts to his condition with disbelief and horror. They lock him in his room, where he becomes increasingly isolated. His father, a domineering and impatient man, views Gregor as a burden, while his mother oscillates between compassion and fear. Greta, initially the most sympathetic family member, takes on the role of caregiver. She brings Gregor food and cleans his room, but as time passes, her patience and empathy wane. The family's financial struggles exacerbate the tensions, forcing them to take on jobs and rent out a room to lodgers, further marginalizing Gregor. As Gregor's physical condition deteriorates, so does his relationship with his family. His transformation forces them to confront their own dependence on him and their resentment toward his new, useless form. Gregor's presence becomes an unbearable reminder of their plight, and they begin to see him not as a person, but as a monstrous intrusion. This shift is most evident in Greta, who goes from caring for Gregor to advocating for his removal, declaring that they must get rid of him for their own survival. Gregor, increasingly alienated, retreats into himself. He begins to accept his insect identity, crawling on walls and hiding under furniture to avoid being seen. Yet, he retains a deep emotional connection to his family, longing for their love and acceptance. This inner conflict between his physical monstrosity and his human emotions forms the heart of the narrative. Despite his transformation, Gregor remains acutely aware of his family's suffering and feels guilt for being a burden. The story reaches its climax when Gregor emerges from his room to listen to Greta play the violin for their lodgers, a poignant moment that underscores his lingering humanity. However, his appearance horrifies the lodgers, leading to their departure and a final rejection by his family. Overcome with despair and realizing he is no longer wanted, Gregor retreats to his room and dies alone. His death is both tragic and liberating, as it frees both him and his family from their mutual suffering. After Gregor's death, the Samsa family experiences a sense of relief. They decide to move to a smaller apartment, symbolizing a fresh start. The novella ends on a note of unsettling optimism, with the family looking forward to the future, particularly Greta, who blossoms into a young woman full of potential. This resolution highlights the harshness of the family's pragmatism and their ability to move on, even as Gregor's sacrifice and suffering fade into obscurity. The Metamorphosis is a profound exploration of the human condition, delving into themes of isolation, identity, and the ways individuals are shaped and discarded by societal and familial expectations. Kafka's use of absurdity and vivid symbolism invites readers to reflect on their own relationships, responsibilities, and the fragility of human connection in a world that often prioritizes utility over humanity. The novella remains a timeless masterpiece, resonating with readers across generations.